light it with a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. And so morning, 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 everybody. We're going to go through a couple of announcements, and the most important announcement that we have today is that God is love and so are you. Wow. Hold that announcement, because that's the one you really want to remember, right? We'll go through a couple of other announcements. Our prayer chaplain today is Barbara Schaefer. Barbara, thank you so much for your willingness to serve. We really appreciate it. If you are interested in prayer, we will create a breakout room for you and for Barbara to pray together after service. Just let us know by sending us a message in chat, and we will take care of that for you. Next Sunday, we get to have our Reverend Kelly Isola back with us. Oh, I'm excited. Isn't she grand? It's something that we get her twice in 1 month. And she is going to be bringing in a message all about joy, good news, great joy, all people. That's going to be a very special message, and we're not going to want to miss it. And then the following Sunday, the day after Christmas, is going to be our releasing ceremony. We have called this our Burning Bowl ceremony. And now, since we are virtual and we don't have a burning bowl for all of us to put our intentions into, we're going to be working with that piece of paper that you got in your holiday package that disappears in water. So just bear that in mind for the 26th. And Moving Mountains Mustard is still available. Thank you so much, Susan. Not only is it delicious, but it does something wonderful for our community. Every time one of you buys some of Susan's mustard, that money goes right back to our community. So it's win-win, really. We're very, very grateful for all the donations and love offerings that have been coming in, for the consistent way in which so many of you are supporting this community. We couldn't exist if that weren't happening. We're grateful to all of you for the way in which you consistently give to this community. To continue to do so, you can follow that link that Kathy has so sweetly put up in the chat box for us. Thank you, Kathy. But you can always mail us a check, to 1622 Torringford Street in Torrington, Connecticut. Bless you, bless you. Are there any announcements that I may have forgotten? No, I take it by the resounding silence that no one is letting me know that I've forgotten an announcement. And so let's continue with our service. We're going to sing a Christmas favorite, Hark the Herald Angels Sing. Are you ready to sing this one? Open up your hearts, open up your throats, harmonize if you can and if you want to at home, because that really raises the vibrations for all of us. Even though the rest of you are singing on mute, I swear to you that if you harmonize, I can feel it. And if I can feel it, the whole community can. Okay? So give it your best and throw some harmony in here, and let's sing Hark the Herald Angels Sing. Hark the angels sing, glory to the King, peace and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. With the angelic host proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. some harmony there. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Barbara. That was wonderful. And speaking of our dear Barbara, who is able to harmonize so beautifully, Barbara's going to bring us in our opening prayer. And as she brings herself forward to this beautiful task, let's give Barbara our love and our light. Thank you, Barbara.
Welcome and good morning on this glorious day. Please do whatever works for you to be in an attitude of prayer. Infinite Spirit, we are so very grateful to have this opportunity to meet together, knowing that there is no geography in spirit as we share the love, the light, and the peace we so yearn for in our lives and on our beautiful planet. Excuse me. We are here by We are here by divine appointment to experience this beautiful ceremony that our beloved Reverend Carolyn has orchestrated and organized for us to awaken more deeply than ever before to the gifts of these 12 magnificent powers. These amazing powers embody the keys to the kingdom of heaven consciousness that we seek, but already are. It's the power of divine love that opens hearts that may have been closed by perceived heart hurts and pain born of misperceptions in our human consciousness. We joyfully open our hearts ever wider to the power of divine love as us, to each other, to our loved ones, to all those in need, and to everyone in the world. We release any doubts, fears, or feelings of unworthiness that may prevent us from embracing all of these magnificent powers that we have been given freely by grace. We yearn for outer peace in this turbulent physical world. But as we sing at the end of every service in the peace song, peace must begin within us. We accept the call to be a peacemaker as a pathway to spiritual consciousness, as we weather the storms of challenges to experience communion with Spirit. We set our intention to experience the joy of the fulfillment of our divine purpose as we embrace the oneness that we are. We choose to see any conflicts in our lives as spiritual midwives of our human experience to awaken us to the unseen, unlimited possibilities available to us as we choose, if we choose to acknowledge them and act upon them, to the edges where we will experience being fully alive. Much of our human experience has limited our awareness of these incredible 12 powers. Today, we are blessed with this powerful ceremony that will open our minds, our hearts, and our spirits wider and deeper than ever before in our human and spiritual consciousness. Knowing that love is the highest vibration there is, we allow divine love to raise our consciousness of loving compassion to everyone and everything in every day and every minute of our sacred time on this earth plane. As one mind and one power, we lovingly connect our sweet, powerful energies, forming a beautiful web of love and light, encompassing this beloved community that extends out into the world and beyond. And we say, thank you, thank you, thank you, and amen.
Thank you and amen for that beautiful prayer, Barbara. Thank you so much. Let's take this moment right now to hold one hand up like this and the other hand up like this, and know that we are holding hands with each other. So try to get your hand in the screen so that you can really feel like you're touching everybody here. Thank you. That is wonderful. And as we hold this beautiful circle of loving, prayerful intention, let's know that everyone that we're carrying in our hearts, anyone that we're concerned about, any place that we're concerned about, is blessed by this shared experience of love right here, right now. This is our greeting to each other. This is our greeting to the world. And we say thank you and amen. And carrying through with all that we have already experienced, let's sing our One Presence affirmation song. For those of you who are near to us, who are new to us. Well, you are near to us, aren't you? Because you're right here in spirit. If you're new to us, this is a call and response song. And so I will sing the first part and you will sing the response at home. Also, and then we sing that third line all together. Also, we always want to mention that this One Presence affirmation song, this is the cornerstone of what we believe. So if this is the only thing you take home with you, well, you would have taken home the pearl of great price. So let's sing our One Presence affirmation song together. There is only one presence. There is only one power in the universe and in my life. In the universe and in my life. The presence is God, the bad and the good. The power is God, the one and the good. In the universe and in my life. In the universe and in my life. Oh, bless you, everybody. And let's joyfully, joyfully say our vision and mission statements together. Centered in God, we co-create a world that works for all, healing our world through prayerful living, inspired teaching, and helping others. And our prayer for unity in the foothills, all together, we give thanks that God within us and through our consciousness is forming our beloved spiritual community as a place of love, light, and peace for all. And now, if you will gather with me in the knowing that there are young leaders all over our dear planet. They're in China, they're in Afghanistan, they're in Syria, Iran, and in the Middle East, they're in Africa, they're in the United States, they're everywhere. Young leaders who are about to bless us by reminding us of what we are. And we call this a blessing when we remind each other of what we really are. So I'm going to be the proxy for all these beautiful young leaders all over the planet. I'll rub my hands together, knowing that all this beautiful young energy is with me. I'm going to hold my hands out to all of you. And as these young leaders, as their mouthpiece, I say, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you. And we behold the Christ you are. And now let's give this same blessing, the same acknowledgement to all the young leaders all over our dear planet. We rub our hands together. We hold them up to all young leaders everywhere. And we say, we love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we behold the Christ you are. Bless you. Bless you. Thank you. Thank you for putting your hearts into that, everybody. So we're going to sing our greeting song. You know, we actually had our greeting. So hold the energy of the greeting. I kind of jumped the gun and put it a little earlier, but that's okay. Hold that energy of this greeting as we sing Angels We Have Heard on High, and know that every single person on this Zoom call is an angel for you. Every single person on this Zoom call is an angel, and you're about to hear from them. Let's all sing and harmonize. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Shepherds, why this jubilee? Why your joyous strains prolong? Say, what may the tidings be which inspire your happy song? Gloria in excelsis Come to Bethlehem and see, in whose birth the angels sing. Come adore on bended knee, Christ the Lord, the newborn King. Gloria in excelsis Pardon me. We are about to move into the time in our ceremony when we light our next Advent light. And we're very, very blessed to have Lisa read the scripture for us. I'm going to sing first, and I invite you to sing along with me. And then Lisa, you will read what has been prepared for you to read, and we will sing again. So please sing with me the One Light song. Shining for me, lighting the darkness, helping me see. One light leading the way out of the shadows into the day. One light breaking the dawn, born of a promise, leading us on. All we need is one light. All we need is one light. All we need is one light. Just
Our scripture reading is from the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 1, verses 18 through 25. The birth of Jesus, the Anointed One, happened this way. When his mother Mary had been betrothed to Joseph, but before they came together, she was found to have a child in her womb through the holy life breath. Now Joseph, her man, being decent and not wanting to make a public spectacle of her, planned to let her go discreetly. But when he had thought carefully about these things, look, a messenger of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, since what has been fathered in her is from the holy life breath. When Joseph awakened from his sleep, he did as the Lord's messenger had commanded him and took her as his wife. But he did not become familiar with her until she had given birth to a son, and he called him by the name Jesus. We light the third candle of Advent, the candle of love, as we consider the loving way in which Joseph handled a challenging personal situation. We affirm we are the ones who can turn the power of love into loving. From Paul Hasselbeck's Absolute Word on Love. My love guides the way. Love is one of the 12 powers. It is our ability to desire, unify, harmonize, and yes, love. In Jesus Christ Heals, Charles Fillmore said, God is love, that from which all loving springs. He also said, God is not loving, God is love, the great heart of the universe and of man, from which is drawn forth all feeling, sympathy, emotion, and all that goes to make up the joys of existence. During this Advent season, I remember and experience the rebirth of Christ in me. I remember I am the one turning the power of love into loving. The love I give is the love I experience. I express love in my thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. Through love, I transform perceived negativity into a blessing. Centered in love, I guide my way.
One light shining for me, lighting the darkness, helping me see. One light leading the way out of the shadows into the day. One light breaking the dawn, born of a promise, leading us on. All we need is one light. All we need is one light. All we need is one light. Just thank you, everybody, and thank you, Lisa. And since Lisa already read to us the absolute word about love, Jan, I want to thank you for your service and your willingness. And with your understanding, we're going to actually move on with our service since we have just heard the absolute word. And so I'm also going to ask you to bear with me because we're going to wait to sing Silent Night until after our 12 power service. And Kathy, I thank you for your patience as well. And so, you know, we all know that story very well, don't we? That story of Joseph. Joseph is that good guy, that decent guy who finds himself in a really tricky situation. That pretty young teenager bride that is betrothed to him is pregnant, but not by him. And we know what happens. We go through this story every Christmas, but let's go through the story one more time so that we can observe Joseph very carefully. Let's watch as he uses all 12 of his powers to move beyond being so much more than just a decent guy, so much more than a good guy, because clearly Joseph is an extraordinary guy. How did he do it? How did he become that extraordinary guy? Pardon me. How did he become that extraordinary guy with a heart as vast as the universe itself? How did he become so incredibly generous? Well, take a journey with me as we watch this Christed soul, Joseph, evolve through this very familiar Christmas story. Let's notice that the first thing that Joseph did was to use his power of discernment to evaluate the sticky situation from every angle. He looks at it from every angle. He knows that if he raises a fuss, his teenage bride will no doubt be stoned to death, because that's the law around adultery, and her family will be disgraced forever. He also knows that if he backs away quietly, the young teenager and her unborn child will live. And so, weighing all of that, using that power of discernment, he next uses his power of will, and he decides, I'm going to do the decent thing. I will divorce her quietly. And he also is using his power of elimination, isn't he? To let go of any resentment, any sense of I've been cheated. He let that all go. He's willing to let bygones be bygones. He's a decent guy. And he's about to become an extraordinary guy. Because what happens next? His power of faith enables him to perceive the presence of a messenger of the divine, his own divinity, in fact. And then his power of zeal motivates him to make a new plan, an incredibly generous plan. He's going to protect this young teenager and her child. He will bring her to his home. He's going to need his power of love to make that plan work. He's going to tap into that power of love to bring harmony to an otherwise tense situation. He's becoming extraordinary, isn't he? But he's far from done. He next uses his power of order to put things in their proper sequence. Yes, he will take Mary as his wife, but he will postpone marital relations with her until after that child is born. And he uses his power of strength to stick to his promise, to care for Mary and her child through thick and through thin. He uses his power of dominion, which we remember is located right here in the throat, to call the infant by the name Jesus, thus exhibiting mastery, which is what dominion is. It's mastery over his own impulse, which, according to custom, would have been to name that little baby boy after himself. He uses his power of imagination to envision that manger as the perfect place of safety and sanctuary for Mary to have her child in. And later, he uses his power of understanding to comprehend the lay of the political land and move his whole family to safety in Egypt until a dangerous king who would have killed that little baby Jesus, until that dangerous king is no longer in power. That came from his power of understanding, of comprehending what was happening. And all along, Joseph has been using his power of life to enliven the Christ that he is, so he can become an extraordinary parent and role model for a little Jewish kid who would one day himself become extraordinary. You know, my friends, I cannot help but think that Joseph was an amazing role model, a perfect role model for Jesus to contemplate. Who else but Joseph, who had been able to tap into his own power of love so thoroughly, so deeply, that he was generous way beyond the world's expectations? Who else but Joseph to help Jesus understand that the source that that Jesus called his Father in heaven, was just as, if not more, generous and loving than his own earthly adoptive father. I bet that we can all think of role models, people who've been Joseph for us. I bet we all have them. People who have shown up for us in extraordinary ways, people we know well, or people that we've heard of, or people that we know of who along the way have demonstrated the use of every single one of these beautiful, innate, divine 12 powers. They've demonstrated them in a way that has stimulated in us the knowing that we have those same powers in us. Because truly, each of us is destined to be extraordinary. And each of us are role models, aren't we, for so many others. Now, in just a few moments, I'm going to ask the readers to come forth for our 12 Powers ceremony. I'm just going to remind you, now's a good time to have your little candle with you. And if it's possible and easy and gentle for you, to have a piece of paper and a pen or pencil. But if that's too much, you don't have to do that. So making sure that everybody has that little candle and something to light it with. I want to prepare us for the fact that the readers are going to be asking us some very deep questions. And as we listen to those questions, we might want to write down what we hear in our soft hearts on that paper, or we might want to just go very deeply into a state of deep, deep contemplation, however you choose to take the journey, consciously or unconsciously. I urge you to let your soft heart lead you, because you may be surprised at what you learn about your 12 powers and who has demonstrated them for you. And so as Samantha comes forward, please give her your love and your light.
Today I speak of Stanley Big Wheel, aka Pops Desick, a man of faith, a large, big, burly man, and upon first appearance may appear gruff, but instead the faithful Pops was a man of resounding faith. He lived wholeheartedly, knowing that if he worked hard, that what he needed and all those he loved would be provided for. He fed others when at times he wasn't sure how he would feed his own. He expected good, and he perceived goodness in all. He perceived goodness in me. He perceived goodness in family. Even after 2 of his sons were taken from him and his beloved bride began to deteriorate, he had faith. He never stopped forgiving, and he was convinced that the absolute truth of every person was goodness, and that we are all faithfully one family. In this sacred space, Let's ask ourselves if we know someone who embodies the ability to believe and to intuit. Do we know someone who is able to perceive light where darkness appears to be? Or is there someone we've heard of who has demonstrated the ability to have conviction when all seems lost? Is there someone we know who can hear peace in a noisy world? As I light the dark blue candle of the power of faith, hold the image of the person that comes to mind and affirm with me, faith is what we are.
Thank you, Samantha. As Heather comes forward, do give her your love and your light.
The person who embodies the power of strength for me is my son, Gabriel. Coming out as transgender to your family in the middle of a pandemic is an enormous feat of courage in and of itself. But where my son's power of strength is most evident to me is the fact that every single day he wakes up and lives his life openly as his authentic and true self in a world that targets, judges, discriminates, mocks, and is even violent towards his very existence. While we are fortunate to live in an accepting family and community, there are very real fears that come up for me and for him every time he walks out my door, even to do the basic things that most of us wouldn't think twice about. And yet, in the face of that fear, he perseveres. He doesn't hide, even when doing so would quite frankly make his life easier. He stays the course to just be who he is. And that in turn has inspired me to draw on my own inner strength and embrace my own place in the LGBTQ community. I am so blessed by the mirror of strength that Gabriel is, and I'm so grateful for his consent to share this with all of you. And in this sanctuary of being, let's ask ourselves if we know someone who embodies the ability to stay the course and endure. Have we met someone who perseveres no matter what? Is there someone we have heard of who was stable and steady as they marched confidently in the direction of their dreams despite all odds? Do we know someone who possesses an audacious persistence, sticking with a plan even as it seems the world of opinion is against them? As I light the green candle of the power of strength, hold the image of the person that comes to you. Strength is ours to command.
Thank you, Heather. As April comes forward, do give her your love and your light.
The person that comes to mind when I think of this power was invited by a friend to an event that marked a milestone for her. However, the host of the event and the person didn't see eye to eye on some issues, and they had parted ways. This person applied their power of discernment by using their inner evaluator to discern the truth and went to the event. She helped me to recognize that decisions aren't always about me, that they are about the greatest good of all. our love and wholeness as one. She helped me to recognize the power of discernment that is residing in and being expressed as me. In this heart-centered place, let's ask ourselves if we know of someone who has the ability to discern the truth of oneness from the falsehood of separation. We can also ask ourselves if there is someone we know of who has the ability to compare and contrast someone, for example, who can discern which ingredients would do well in a recipe. Or perhaps we have heard of someone with the ability to evaluate lots of different kinds of information and come to a simple conclusion. Who might this person be? As I light the yellow candle of power of discernment, hold the image of the person or people that come to you. Discernment is here, and it's ready to be used for the benefit of all.
Thank you, April. As Susan comes forward, do give her your love and your light.
As I think of the power of love, two prominent couples come to mind, Jimmy and Rosalind Carter and Joe and Jill Biden. Their love and devotion to each other through all things is remarkable. Their love of God is present in all they do, and they carry those things with them into their passion for civil service and their commitment to making our world and country a more equal, compassionate, and loving place in which to live. At ages when many slow down and take a back seat to those who are younger, they set a greater example of how we, too, can make a significant difference during both good and challenging times. In this open and inclusive dynamic, let's ask ourselves if we know of someone who has the ability to bring harmony where harmony appears not to be. There might be someone we have heard of who has a knack for unifying a group of people. We can also let our hearts bring forth the image of someone, animal, vegetable, or mineral, who is naturally and spontaneously affectionate with the entire universe. As I light the pink candle of the power of love, hold the image of the person, creature, or being that your heart has brought forth. Love is here, and we are using it right now to attract ourselves to all that is good.
Thank you, Susan. As Karen comes forward, do give her your love and your light.
So the thought that we have power or dominion over our thoughts is really empowering. And when I was considering this, I knew instantly who I feel embodies this. The person who represents the power of dominion to me is my wife. She experienced a life-changing event many years ago. And at the time, and for many years, we called it an accident. And we thought of it as really just in the physical of how it changed things. And I've just watched her grow and begin this journey to understand our true nature. And it's not being locked in a physical reality. And that's a really cool thing to observe. So this is the person who, she does feel the feels. I mean, she feels her emotions, but I've watched her master them and move beyond them. It's just incredible to see. So in this energy of light, which we are, let's ask ourselves if we know of someone who has demonstrated the ability to master their emotions for the highest and best for all. Is there someone we know that can control their temper or impulses? Or perhaps we have heard of someone who was able to take charge of their lives and against all odds, master something that the world told them they could never master. As I light the purple candle of the power of dominion, please hold the image or images of those who have exhibited masterful control in their lives. The power of dominion is at hand, and we are all masters.
Thank you, Karen. As Beth brings herself forward, let's give her our love and our light.
Who else to better represent the power of imagination than a child? The first person I thought of was my 8-year-old granddaughter. She is my teacher of imagination. She is constantly using hers to make things work out in her favor. We play a lot of board games, and she knows all the rules. They may, in fact, even change in the middle of the game. But I assure you, they always work out for her in her favor. If there's mischief brewing, it's always her 4-year-old brother's fault. And Rosalind imagines she has all the facts to prove it. Finally, did you know that scrap paper, some tape, and a marker make an equilateral triangle to be traced and turned into a beautiful masterpiece? Someday she'll be using a compass, a protractor, and a triangle ruler. I can't always condone, as an adult, the way she uses her powers of imagination. But when I step back and release my control, I can't help but see a very creative young lady. As the Christ we are right now, let's ask ourselves if we know anyone who dreams outside of the world's expectations. Perhaps we know someone who can think outside the box, or who is able to envision a solution where only a problem appears to be. We might know of someone who has a stunning ability to picture what is possible in the face of an apparent impossibility. Or we might know someone who has an amazing capacity to envision well-being where only discomfort appears to be. As I light the blue candle of the power of imagination, you are invited to hold the image of that special someone that has triggered your own desire to imagine beyond what you have thought possible. The power of imagination quickens within us, and we are the dreamers of the new dream. Understanding. David McCallum, my acupuncturist, has taught me the meaning of understanding. It doesn't matter what story of chaos I tell him, I can trust that he will hear me on a human level and yet perceive the truth that lies beneath the frenzy, doubt, and fear that I think exists. It's almost magical, the way he moves me to question my own story and breathe my way into stillness. I find myself primed to find and or hear one and sometimes many options for the chaos. There are choices that lie beyond the chaos, swimming in an ocean of infinite possibilities. I think it's the ocean of understanding. In this ever-expanding realization of the divinity we are, let's ask ourselves if we know of anyone who has gained understanding of a situation by meditating on it silently, in the silence. Or perhaps there is someone that has a knowing that is not based on the intellect. Do we know of a person who has understood a divine law, such as the law of attraction, and has applied that law in a way that brings happiness, not only to themselves, but to the world around them? Or do we know someone who rarely gets lost, someone who seems to have an internal GPS system which they depend upon to bring them safely home? As I light the gold candle of the power of understanding, let's hold the energy of the person or people that have, in the midst of the confusion, demonstrated a clear understanding of what is really so. The power of understanding arises among us, and we now know what to do.
Thank you, Beth. As Karen brings herself forward, let's give her our love and light.
The power of will. The power of will is demonstrated to me by someone right here in our Unity community. It's Barbara. I've always admired her ability to see the Christ readily, seemingly without hesitation, and to serve them in amazing ways. To me, that is choosing love over fear. I recall when I first joined Unity in the Foothills 13 or 14 years ago, I've lost count, that she shared a story about her condo burning and losing everything. And I sat there thinking, oh my gosh, what would I do? And I was so impressed with her choice. Her choice was to just know that everything was perfectly perfect. And she came from a place of love rather than fear. And to me, that was a huge lesson because she received everything needed and more by choosing love over fear. And it was a wonderful lesson of the power of will to me. So in this awareness that the entire universe is within us, let's ask ourselves if we know of anyone who has demonstrated the ability to be decisive. We might know someone with an uncanny ability to choose a path from a variety of pathways. We might have heard of someone who is able to consistently choose love over fear, no matter how frightening things seem to appear. Or there may be a person who has made interesting, admirable choices in their life, choices which may have seemed impossible at the time. Who is that person who has led the way forward by saying yes to one thing and no to another? As I light the silver candle of the power of will, let's all hold the feeling of the person or people that have demonstrated the ability to make tough decisions in an indecisive world. The power of will is activated within us, and we are ready to decide.
Thank you, Karen. As Susan brings herself forward, let's give her our love and our light.
Lisa, my study partner from grad school, embodies the power of order. She always seems to have a plan she puts into play through setting her goals, identifying what she needs to do to accomplish those goals, and puts action toward them, adjusting when life sets obstacles in her way, and being open to new paths that have brought her new opportunities and joy. Through all the challenges she has experienced, including the pandemic, she has intentionally created balance in her personal and professional life. During it all, she met and just married her second husband and her soulmate, and they are putting order in their lives together with joy. In this place of hallowed balance, let's ask ourselves if we know anyone who loves to organize their closets and their lives. We might find ourselves thinking of someone who has an instinct for sequence, someone who recognizes that socks go on first, then shoes. We may have heard of someone famous who has turned the activity of organization into a spiritual practice. Or we may be aware of a person who knows how to adjust their thoughts and feelings so that they can be the best Christ they can be. As I light the dark green candle of the power of order, let's bring to our mind the person who has demonstrated order during apparent chaos. The power of order is always working in our lives. Let's enjoy it.
Thank you, Susan. As April comes forward, let's give her our love and our light.
This person is enthusiastic about learning, experiencing new things, going on adventures, and sharing them with others. Even though she fell off a cliff and severely damaged her ankle years ago, and more recently had a stroke, she rehabbed and continues to stay motivated. She looks forward to her next adventures. She's also involved in classes and loves to share what she has learned with others. She realizes she can't do everything she once could, but she does what she can. When I commented, "Boy, you like to stay active," her response was, "Yeah, you know when I'll stop?" And her answer was, "When I have to." This person helped me to recognize that enthusiasm, passion, and motivation for life have always been right here within and expressing as me. In this realm of blessed fire, let's notice as our hearts bring forth images of people whose enthusiasm has been contagious. Who is that person? Whose passion has motivated us to begin a project, start a diet, a program of study, or learn to love ourselves? Is there someone famous that has inspired us to be more than we ever thought possible? Is there someone not so famous, someone we know well, whose energy is like rocket fuel, lifting us off the launching pad? As I light the orange candle of zeal, let's hold that person or persons in our grateful hearts. The power of zeal is alive and well, and we are now motivated to be all that we can be and more.
Thank you, April. As Heather comes forward, let's bring her our love and our light.
So every year that I've participated in the 12 Powers ceremony, when it comes time to choose our candles, every single time I have chosen elimination. As I meditated on that, I thought about why that is. This time I did not choose it consciously, but it was given to me all the same. I kept coming back to my own journey with this power, everything that I have learned to let go of, the things I still struggle to release. And I wondered, is this one of those times I'm supposed to use myself as an example? But I came to understand that it isn't so much my personal experience I'm meant to share here, but rather that my experience is part of a collective journey with this very community. I feel very deeply that this community will need to tap into our collective ability to let go of and release old thoughts, expectations, and ideas in the coming months as we continue to shift and grow. We're going to need to help one another using our own experiences. And I believe we can and we will, because I realize that the reason I've chosen elimination year after year after year is because this community has created and continues to maintain a safe and loving space that inspires me to continue with the inner work of letting go. And so in this place of ultimate safety, let's ask ourselves if there is someone in our lives who has demonstrated the ability to let go in a remarkable way. Perhaps we know someone who has indeed eliminated anything that was impeding their spiritual progress. We might know someone who's been able to let go of old embedded theology. Maybe we've heard of someone who was able to let go of entrenched racism or homophobia. Or maybe we know someone who has been able to let go of a grudge that had been destroying their well-being. As I light the russet candle of elimination, let's gather the people that have inspired us to let go of any false belief into our consciousness. We have the power to say no to limitation, and because we do, the unlimited light of our being shines brightly.
Thank you, Heather. As Samantha comes forward, let's give her our love and our light.
I was asked to speak authentically and openly about the power of life. Now, as I was listening now to everybody speak of the other powers that are inherent and alive in each one of us, our beloved Margie came to mind, of course. Margie is the light of life. Her very earthly presence gave life through her animated presence and that joy-filled laugh that I still hear every day. She lived life to the fullest, even when she was diagnosed with what seemed to be dis-ease. She continued to live joyfully with vitality and abundance. As I was planning years and years ago to end life, she reminded me, she carried me forward and onward with that simple twinkle in her eye and conviction that life is good and that I am good. She led everybody who had the gift of being with her with vitality, with the ability to love unconditionally. And boy, did she love life. She was and still is life. And for that, I am forever grateful as she led me here to you, to unity. And that's where I found life. As we sit in the truth of our being, let's call to mind those who have brought life to a house and turned it into a home. Let's ask ourselves if we know anyone who has turned a mundane project into a work of art. Have we met anyone who we know who is the life of the party? Perhaps we have heard of someone who has brought life to an abandoned part of a city. Or perhaps we know someone who has brought us back to life. As I light the red candle of the power of life, let's invite all these enlivening energies to the table. The power of life is here, and it is enlivening all of our powers so that we can be the light of the world.
Thank you, Samantha. And now I invite you all to take your own little votive light that you have here. And as I read each power aloud, to look into this community right here. Look who is here with you on the screen and see who it is here that embodies that power for you. And when you have found the person that right here in this community that really registers as being the demonstrator of this particular power for you, go ahead and light your candle. I know you're probably going to want to light your candle several times, but wait for that first time and then just know that your intention will continually light the candle. And so, who here in this community right now embodies faith for you? Who here in this community right now embodies strength for you? Who here in this community right now embodies discernment for you? And who here in this community right now embodies love for you? Who here in this community right now embodies the power of dominion for you? And who here in this community right now embodies the power of imagination for you? And who here in this community right now embodies the power of understanding for you? And who here in this community right now embodies the power of will for you? And who here in this community right now embodies the power of order for you? And who here embodies the power of zeal? And who here embodies the power of elimination? And who here embodies the power of light? And if you will all raise your candles up, and I'm just going to play Silent Night. look at this community. The Christ is born right here as each and every one of us, as one. We are the Christ, and we are being born. And we love each other, we bless each other, we appreciate each other, and we behold the light that everyone here is. We're going to actually move ahead with our service and sing our peace song. And so if you'd like to put your candle down or blow it out, now would be a good time to do so. Let's sing our beautiful peace song together. We're going to know that we've already made our offertory. All right, everybody? We're just going to know that inside. And let's sing our peace song together. So you can feel one another as we sing. Prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. We are the light. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love. The power of God protects us. We are the power. The presence of God watches over us. We are the presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Woohoo! Bring yourself off